Hello and welcome to a burnt out Call of Duty veterans coverage of the new Call of Duty reimagining. Well, you've got to wonder how many times can they sell the same game and get away with it and still sell? How many times? Well, there's definitely security in familiarity, and Call of Duty's success has been built off its familiarity. Now, it might sound like I am complaining at the decision here, but I think it's actually a brilliant move. I think it is being in need of happening. Call of Duty has been needing to be reformed and shaken up for quite some time. They tried to do it with the EXO movement a couple of years back with the Advanced Warfare, and that caused a mutation in the gameplay as such. But that isn't necessarily what we needed. They managed to quicken up the gameplay during matches, and it gave it a different pace and a different feel, but it didn't make it any better. It lowered the strategy, and it became more and more mindless the faster the gameplay got. But I do actually have a soft spot for Infinite Warfare. I think they actually, instead of nerfing the movement, where you couldn't really have the combat shoot people while actually in the air, you could kind of do it in advanced movement, but advanced warfare, but you're just sort of leapfrogging about, going up and down, and there was no real thought taking place into the shooting mechanics while actually in the air. Well, Black Ops 3, they looked at advanced warfare and were like, oh my god, that's an awful awful game. It doesn't work at all, jumping up and down in the air. Let's just make it that you can't really shoot people while in the air unless you're wall running. I really didn't like that. If you're going to do an advanced movement, you might as well go the full shilling and be able to shoot people while in the air, do all this incredible acrobatic movement that Infinite Warfare mastered. And unfortunately for Infinite Warfare, it was a victim of the time period that it came out. That was the third game of the EXO movement, even though the game developers on a 3-year game cycle, that they had no idea that people would be so fatigued and fed up of the setting, of the mechanics, by the time that game was halfway through development. So yeah, this is a brilliant move by Infinity Ward. I think potentially it was actually maybe the only move that they had, considering the fact that the community hasn't really been well received for their last 2 video game installments, even though I actually really enjoyed Infinite Warfare, and I really enjoyed the Extinction Mode in Ghost. And another fact, I really hope Extinction Mode returns. Might as well just reimagine that, considering they tried to close the cliffhanger in Infinite Warfare. But yeah, this is a fantastic move. They've managed to sort of follow the trend in what other video games have been doing these last couple of years. The other successful video games, I should say, that have prioritized the story first. They've made the narration, the narrative take precedent over the gameplay as such. And this is huge. This is exactly what we've been wanting in Call of Duty, a more grounded, authentic game that you feel like you can immerse yourself in that world without sort of losing the sense of reality or immersion by all these jetpacks and other nanotech exosuits nonsense. That is what we don't want. We want to feel the duty calling here, you know. The storyline in the original 3 Modern Warfare games is basically finished, and the fact that, you know, they ended up having Russia invade America, they were creatively pretty much stonewalled once they'd done that. They can't really go back and continue upon that storyline, and I think it is just best to start from new foundations, take what was great about the original Modern Warfare, the characters, the charm of it and the action, and improve upon the story, make it more human, into more depth into particular characters, take advantage of the face motion capture technology that we have now that we didn't have back then. And yeah, I'm actually more excited now for the story than for the multiplayer for this year, because unless they can somehow shake up the multiplayer in the same regards to the story, then I just expect a relatively similar experience to that of Modern Warfare Remastered. I did notice that the MP5 is returning, and I'm very excited for that weapon. I love that in Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered. And yeah, for me, like a good Call of Duty, the guns need to feel powerful and punchy and exciting to use. It's also because it helps with the connection and the lag. When the guns are stronger, the hit detection is predominantly better because you're requiring less hit markers to kill people, and therefore it becomes a much less frustrating experience. And it also turns into more of a reactive skill game rather than, okay, you've got that, you might claim that, okay, the gunfights are a bit more satisfying when it takes a higher time to kill people, but we've got this player in the lobby from the other side of the world that decides to moonwalk in front of you and do a little dance to avoid all the bullets that you try to fire at him, only to get free hits, but don't get that finishing blow, and he just turns around with his lag compensation and melts you almost instantaneously. Now, having the high damage weapons that kill in 2 to 3 bullets, you negate or mitigate that issue a lot more. So hopefully they take note and have the time to kill to a similar level that was seen in the original Modern Warfares. I believe that was part of the formula as to why they were so successful. The lower time to kill with higher damage output allowed for the killing a single individual to become a bit easier as such, but it also allowed the potential skill ceiling to be higher as well, because if you are a very good player and you had good enough reaction time, if you ever came into a building or a scenario where you were against multiple enemies at once, and if you were fast enough with good enough reaction time, you could take on all 2 or 3 of them. But in the games nowadays, because the time to kill is so slow, there's no chance. You don't have a chance to fight back in those scenarios. And that lowering of the skill ceiling has ruined and caused fatigue for the game, for me and many other people who loved the Call of Duties of old. We want to feel like we are improving while playing the game. And once you reach a position where there is no other place to improve, you're fighting these specialist abilities that people have where they can just spawn a grenade launcher on themselves and kill you out of nowhere and steal your kill streak that you're on. That is not fun. That is anti-fun. And we all know that Call of Duty is a game built on the adrenaline of going on that kill streak, of being alive and doing some serious damage and crushing and dominating your opponents. What was interesting about the story and the way that it looked like it was handled, it definitely had more of a Uncharted feel to it, where you're really part of the camera. The camera movement made it far more cinematic than a typical Call of Duty game, where I noticed that rather than shooting in the conventional camera angle where you've got the guy holding his weapon down at his hip and he's walking along with the weapon is slightly swaying back and forth, it's more there's a helmet camera and you're getting this different angle, and it just adds that level of cinematic experience is what we're needing. Even just listening to the dialogue used in the trailer, you can see a great improvement over anything of previous Call of Duties that I've seen currently. Just the discussion of morality, whether or not the people that you're playing are doing the right thing, that the morals are being blurred here, that you don't even know yourself if you're doing the correct thing, if your actions, your deeds of evil is worth the trade-off. The ends justify the means for an overwhelming good outcome. And you could argue that's the exact same idea or method that any terrorist is adopting. You know, they're believing that their sacrifice, the deaths, the terror that they cause, ultimately is morally justified in the long run, as it either aligns with their faith or whatever other principles they might hold. And this is what we're needing. And I really, really hope that we get a good backstory for Captain Price and for the villains. Perhaps see their childhood, see what they've had to grow up in their dismal, war-torn Middle Eastern countries, and the trauma they've had to go through. Try make us really empathize with the villains, Infinity Ward. You can really make quite a cultural, political statement here if you really want to, about the way that we perceive the terror and the war in the Middle East, and really try to understand the indoctrination that occurs over there that turns perfectly normal people into terrorists. If you manage to achieve anything like that, then you're on to a winner. You're on to a serious winner. And it's providing justification for the violence, the explosions, the action. And that is what has been missing in Call of Duty for so long. You know, it's injecting that bit of humanity that allows you to immerse yourself in the world and not sort of nitpick at things that seem ridiculous in the game or whatever. It allows you just to accept those little issues and be like, you know what, it doesn't matter to me because you've convinced me. You've connected me to the character emotionally, and now I am invested. And they've got a foot forward here, the fact that they're using characters that we already know and love. Captain Price is one of the most coolest video game characters of all time. He almost convinced me into actually spending money on microtransactions, which I've never done before in Call of Duty Ghosts and Infinite Warfare, just to try get Captain Price. But yeah, hopefully I've not rambled on for too long there. Just to summarize what I think of this new Call of Duty, I think it's a huge step in the right direction in making the franchise a lot more mature, a lot more emotionally resonant, for you to actually care about the characters, care about the game, and not just skip the story mode to go straight to multiplayer. And if they could also somehow transfer this elevated cinematic experience where you're more emotionally connected into the game through the multiplayer experience, then that would be one massive step forward for the power fantasy that is Call of Duty. This has been Oh So Dry. Like and subscribe. Peace out. Hey there, thank you for watching my video on the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare reveal. This is the face behind Oh So Dry. Almost forgot my own name there. If you like what you see, then give it a like, give it a subscribe, do all that jazz. I'm currently using my laptop computers to actually record this, so it's not the best quality, but I'm hoping once my channel gets a couple more subscribers and likes that I'll actually invest in a proper camera, so then I could have my face along with the video, because apparently that matters to a lot of you guys. So yeah, hopefully you guys like what you see. Please. And yeah, see you guys later.